And now we come to William McIntosh. This man betrayed his own people, and that's just not an opinion. That's how his story ended. Now, let me show you why. Chief William McIntosh, born around 1778 to a Scottish father and Muscogee mother, Sononia of the Wind Clan. And that matters immediately because we already know in Muscogee society, power didn't come through the father, it flows through the mother. So from birth, he already had legitimacy, already had standing, already had access to authority inside the Creek Nation. Now, like Chief Alexander McGilvery before him, McIntosh grew up able to move between both worlds. He was down around Savannah, learning English, understanding trade, understanding how power moves. But unlike McGilvery, he doesn't use that position to resist expansion. He leans into it. And this is where it starts to get real. Because what he builds isn't just influence, it's network. He marries across communities, Creek, Cherokee, mixed heritage between early settlers and Muscogee women of the Wind Clan. But most importantly, those connections extend through his children. For example, his daughter Jane McIntosh marries into the Hawkins family, tying his bloodline directly to Benjamin Hawkins, the U.S. agent shaping Creek policy. And through his wife, Susan Cole, his family line connects into the household of Governor David B. Mitchell of Georgia. So now you're not just looking at a chief with relationships, you're looking at a network. Creek leadership, U.S. agents, state power, all connected. And that's not random, that's structure. And when you look at his actions, it lines all up. He supports Hawkins' programs, adopts American farming system, owns plantations, uses enslaved labor, aligns with U.S. military interests, and fights along future President Andrew Jackson. That's not resistance, that's alignment. And eventually, in 1825, Chief William McIntosh signs the Treaty of Indian Springs, relinquishing over 22 million acres of Creek land to the United States, and without full authority from the nation to do so. And that was the breaking point, because under Muscogee law, this wasn't negotiation, this was a violation. And what happened next? It wasn't chaos, it wasn't revenge, it was law. So on April 30th, 1825, Chief Mawa, along with around 200 Muscogee warriors, went to McIntosh homes at Indian Springs in present-day Butts County, Georgia, set it on fire, pulled him out, and executed him. Because the nation still had structure, the nation still had standards, the nation still had consequences, the nation still had law. Now, today, that site is preserved, known as Indian Springs Park. And while the original home itself is no longer standing in its original form, the land, the location, and the story are still there. But here's what matters most. When you step back and look at all three, Chief Alexander McGilvery, Benjamin Hawkins, Chief William McIntosh, you're not just looking at individuals, you're looking at a system forming. McGilvery represented resistance through diplomacy, strategy, and Creek legitimacy. Hawkins represented influence, relationships building, expansion through alignment. And McIntosh, he represented the fracture point, where lineage, marriage, and political connection carried the system forward into the state itself. And this isn't just a story about people, this is about structure, power, land, and how over time, through influence, through relationships, and through decisions, everything changed. And this is just the foundation, folks, the people behind the story. So stay tuned with new media because what comes next is the land, the history before the lake. Be great today. Peace.